So whatever you do, don't look for productivity tips on the internet. I know that's rich coming from me who's, giving productivity tips on the internet, but I spent a lot of time looking for that one thing that was going to make everything just gel and click together, and I was going to be productive and it was going to be effortless, just like everybody promised, and it never worked out that way. So just go into your watch later list and remove everything that has anything to do with productivity, because it isn't going to help. Why isn't it going to help? Because it's not ADHD specific. There's a lot of people out there that are going to give neurotypical productivity advice, and we're going to listen to it, and it's going to sound great. But when we try and implement it, it lasts for a little bit and it never works long term. And then we get frustrated because it never works. And then we get depressed because we feel like we're broken. And then anxiety sets in because we're worried about the future, and we're worried if we're ever going to be able to do things right.
Buck up, little camper.
And the problem is that we just started off with bad advice, trying to implement things in a way that doesn't work for us. So stop it. Stop listening to the bad advice. And instead, focus on the things that actually work for ADHD. And you will find that things get a lot better. So what is some good productivity advice? Well, we want to use our strengths, but the problem is those of us with ADHD have really bad self-awareness. So most of the time we don't even know what our strengths are. So sit down with someone who knows you really well, maybe a few people. Doesn't have to be at the same time. You can do it at different times. And ask them, what am I good at?
Nunchuck skills.
What would you come to me to get advice on? Maybe you have some ideas too of things that you're good at, and write those down because those are important. But it's also important to get the perspective of those around you because of, that low self-awareness that we have. But there's a caveat to this. Those of us with ADHD tend to not trust other people, and we tend to not trust ourselves too. And so just write down whatever they say, even if you don't agree with it, even if you think they're lying to you, just write it down and think about it. Maybe a good thing to do would be to ask them for examples, like, okay, you think that's my strength? Tell me about when I did something like that. Next, we want to create structures around our weaknesses. Well, what does that look like? We want to put things in place so that the things that we have trouble with either become very, very difficult to do, or if we need to do them, they become very, very easy to do. It's that wall of awful that we've talked about in previous videos. We want to overcome that wall of awful by building a ladder that we can use over and over again. Except we want the ladder to be really easy to use, so more like an escalator. A great example of this is at an engineering job, I had to send basically the same email over and over and over again. So instead of having to write the email, I created a template that I just copied and pasted into the email, and then I just needed to change what had to be changed. And then I sent it, and it was easy and fast. That kind of sounds like a no-brainer, and it is, and that's kind of the point. We want to remove as many decisions that we need to make as possible because decisions take time and effort, and they drain our mental energy. And we need to save that mental energy because we spend mental energy in a lot of places, like masking so that people don't see the real us, and which is a bad idea anyway, so you shouldn't be doing that either. And then we want to write things down in one place. Not just anything, but like the things that have worked, and the things that we've tried that haven't worked, because our memory's really awful. And so if we write it down and we write down why it didn't work, that saves us a bunch of time from trying to have to do it over again. So when we start second guessing our decisions, or we start thinking, well, maybe I didn't really try hard enough, or, I really should do it this way. That's language that is kind of a red flag that should point you back to that one place where you write those things down and say, well, why didn't it work last time? Remember, low self-awareness. Couple that with a bad memory and why we don't trust ourselves and other people, and all of a sudden you keep trying the same things over and over again. Like those really bad productivity tips that you see on YouTube sometimes. Okay, a lot of the time. Okay, maybe they're not bad. Maybe they're just geared towards neurotypical people, and so they're bad for ADHD. And when we find something that works, we want to keep doing it. But, our ADHD brain is based off of interest, not priority. So how do we do that? Well, I came across this really great word recently, resparkleize. We take something that's worked in the past and we put on a new coat of paint, or we bedazzle it, or we bling it out, or, whatever. That way, the interest in using that thing can continue on because it's new and shiny. But remember, whatever you do, stop listening to neurotypical productivity advice that doesn't work and then just makes us feel broken and stupid. We're not. We're not broken. We're not stupid. We just need to do the things that work for us. But everybody has a different flavor of ADHD. So that's why, hey, just do this kind of advice, that doesn't really work. It has to be customized for you. How do I end this? And on that note, what's worked for you? Put it down in the comments. Maybe you'll be able to help some people that come and see this video later. So thanks for spending some time with me today. I appreciate you, and I look forward to the next one, where we engineer the crap out of ADHD.